World War I leads to World War II as day follows night. By the end of World War I, everybody is looking to get advantage.
World War I didn't really end in 1918. It brutalized an entire generation of Europeans. It brutalized an entire generation of people around the world. And it made them realize that war on this scale was not only possible, but actually thinkable.
There's a wonderful, wonderful political cartoon where the fat politicians and generals are walking out of Versailles, and there's a little tiny boy and he's crying in the corner. And I'm not kidding, he says, "I'm cannon fodder for 1940. They knew, anyone with half a brain knew that the Treaty of Versailles was essentially the starting gun for the Second World War.
Essentially what happened is that you create such an unstable economy and so much animosity between nations that you're just seeding the field of war to rise and grow again.
A lot of the anger, animosity, resentment that fuels the rise of the National Socialists of Adolf Hitler in Germany can be directly tied to that. It would be difficult to argue that that's simply propaganda that's utilized by Adolf Hitler. These were very difficult terms for the German people to handle. And it creates this bunker mentality, this us against the world mentality that ultimately will play out in Hitler being able to create a program that appeals to that sentiment.
To the average German, they have been sold out by the politicians.
In particular, it made people like Adolf Hitler, who had fought, after all, in the German army in World War I, think that if only the Germans could do it again, but do it right this time, they could actually win.
We call it World War I, World War II, but it's really two different stages of one global conflict. Just happens that people put their arms down for a 20-year period, and then they went back to fighting again.
So what is a Nazi? I mean, what does the term Nazi actually mean? Well, the term Nazi was actually generated by Winston Churchill in the British Parliament during the 30s in an attempt to try and bring attention to Adolf Hitler as a growing threat in Europe. Which may lead you to ask, what did the Nazis call themselves, and did the Nazis call themselves Nazis? In fact, it's very offensive to call a Nazi, and they prefer to be called National Socialists, thank you very much. That's because that's what they are. They are National Socialists. They are the extreme right of nationalism and the extreme left of socialism, and where it meets on the political pie chart. So what is National Socialism? National Socialism grew out of the socialism of the 1800s and the early 1900s in political philosophy and political economy. There were other branches which grew out of it, such as corporate fascism and other forms of socialism. So who were the Nazis, and who did they fight? The Nazis spent most of their time street fighting in the 1920s of Weimar Republic Germany with the Social Democrats and the Socialists. Some people might say, well, where do the Communists come into this? Well, this is what the Nazis actually called the Socialists, because there's no such thing as a communist. This may seem confusing initially, but bear with us. The Communists are merely what we used to call the Socialists. The Socialists never referred to themselves as Communists. That's just a result of a whole lot of bad John Wayne films you've seen and Rambo. Socialists refer to themselves as Socialists. What's an example of this as definite proof? Well, for evidence of this, we only have to look to what was the name of Russia from 1917 to 1991. It wasn't just called Russia, and neither was it called the Communists, no matter how much we would like to say so and how much our propaganda tried to convince us of it. They were called the USSR, and this stands for the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. Notice they did not call themselves the USCR, they called themselves the USSR. They were not the Union of Soviet Communist Republics. They were the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. That's because, under Marxism, you cannot reach communism without passing first through a transitory stage of socialism. When the state withers, true communism is reached. Since no socialist state has ever reached communism by having their state wither, thus they are socialists, and will admit themselves to be this and never declare themselves to be communists. It's also a very useful ploy to use against your own socialist citizens when they ask for more nylons and washing machines. You just say, we have not reached a communist situation yet, we are still a socialist state, the state has not withered, we can't share our washing machine with you. So far we've found out that Nazis are not Nazis and communists are not communists. And we now know that the Nazis were in fact fighting the communists who were in fact socialists. Now, a pretty good reason why the National Socialists didn't call the socialists socialists is because they didn't want to show their political kindred roots with them, and thus they called them communists, or more typically, Bolshevists, and they even more like to call them Judeo-Bolshevists. This stood in line with Ermenistic Aryan race theories, which were predominant within occultish Third Reich ideologies.
Now let's take a look at this. This is some old Nazi ruin shit I was looking up whilst investigating. And I found this here, but I found something that led me to this, and I'll show you. Check this out. Here's your Jewish cube. Isn't this interesting with all of this ruin stuff, this Aryan stuff? Yet they got the same symbol the Jews do. Wow. I thought they were enemies. I guess we were lied to. I guess we all got lied to. Boo-hoo. Boo-hoo. How dare you? How dare you, Xeon? Who taught you to tell the truth? You silly little bastard. Moron dope. Hey, Thaler. Super uniform. Computerized CGI turd.
By 1900, the cities of Germany and Austria had changed beyond all recognition. Millions have abandoned the poverty of peasant life to slave in the mills and foundries of the Industrial Revolution. As their populations swell with the influx of labor, elegant centers of commercial and aristocratic life become teeming industrial slums. It is in the cities that the values of the old order are challenged. Calls for democracy and socialism threaten the traditional power of the ruling elites. Established religious beliefs are undermined by science and a rising tide of materialism. To many, the new world seems fractured and chaotic. Amongst the aristocratic and educated classes in the first decade of the 20th century, the overriding mood is one of nostalgia. There is a powerful yearning for a vanished past, a past believed to have been more harmonious, orderly, and spiritual. All over industrialized Europe, new movements arise, devoted to the search for simplicity. In Germany, the movement calls itself Lebensreform, life reform. It is pledged to the restoration of a more natural way of living. Tens of thousands of German youth join the Wandervogel, the birds of passage. Its members share a mystical love of the German countryside and revere German folklore and ritual. While science and medicine are rejected as products of the Industrial Revolution, vegetarianism, herbal healing, nudism, communal living and meditation become fashionable pursuits. In every major city, cults devoted to spiritualism, astrology, magic and the occult flourish among the disciples of life reform. Of all the doctrines favored by the movement, none will be more influential than those preached by the Russian adventuress and telepath, Madame Helena Blavatsky. In 1888, Madame Blavatsky claimed to have traveled to Tibet and there to have been initiated into the secrets of spiritual masters she calls the hidden elect. In the doctrines of occultists, the hidden elect, or the Great White Brotherhood, are believed to be humans who, by initiation and self-denial, have risen to become adepts. They have gained powers and knowledge beyond those of ordinary mortals. In Britain, Aleister Crowley, a magician of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, claimed in 1909 to have crossed the abyss and to have returned as an adept. Madame Blavatsky did not claim to be an adept in her own right, but she did claim constant telepathic communication with her hidden masters. They had revealed to her, their chosen one, the occult history of the human race. According to Madame Blavatsky, each round of the cosmic cycle has associated with it 7 root races. The first root race to evolve on Earth she calls the astral race. It was a race of pure spirit, the highest form of existence. The second race she calls the Hyperborean race. Its home was a now vanished continent in the Northern Ocean. The third race was the Lemurians. Blavatsky is clear about the reason for the fall of the Lemurian race. It had interbred with animals. The fourth race in the history revealed to Madame Blavatsky is the race of Atlantis. The Atlanteans had possessed psychic powers and had constructed giant cities using an energy source of mysterious origins. The Atlanteans were destroyed in a great flood. The fifth root race Madame Blavatsky sees as the race of hope. The race that had once founded the culture of ancient Greece and soon would return man to the pinnacle of spirituality. That race she named the Aryan. By 1914, Blavatsky's mystical doctrine of the destiny of Aryan man has spread throughout Germany and Austria.